overall.
We're visiting today with Dr. Elmer Shellenberger, who's the Professor of Business at SNU. He's actually the Professor Emeritus Chairman of the School of Business. Dr. Shellenberger, thank you for agreeing to visit with us today. I'd like to ask you what brought you originally to SNU?
I came to Bethany Pinal College in 1939 with my sister, who enrolled as a freshman. Then in 1942, I came as a freshman. In 1943, left to go into the Navy during World War II. Then I came back one semester in 1946 and then finished my business degree at Wichita State University. In 1952, Dr. Ripper called and wanted me to teach in the School of Business for 2 years. And I said, well, what happens in the 2 years? Well, we may have an opening for you and we may not. So I said, well, I'll just take a rain check on it. Then in 1960, he called again and asked if I would come and teach in the Department of Business. So we decided to come September of 1960. I came full-time at Bethany Nazarene College. The name had changed from Bethany Pinal College to Bethany Nazarene College. Dr. Stan Perry was the head of the department at that time, and he left to go to work at the University of Kentucky. So they had an opening, and they asked me if I would come and teach, so I taught from 1960 to 1989.
You were the chairman of the School of Business from 1964
to 1989.
At that time, there was no way to get a degree in business education. Can you describe how you saw a need to develop the Masters of Science of Management program?
Oklahoma University and Oklahoma State University decided to eliminate their programs of business education. So I thought there was a need for high school teachers in the Oklahoma City area to get a master's degree in business education. So we developed a proposal, and North Central examiners came down. It took about 1974. They came down and approved our program, which became Master of Science in Management, rather than at that time the Master of Business Administration. And the reason, we didn't have a doctor of finance, we didn't have a PhD in economics, we didn't have a PhD in business finance, so we went Master of Science in Management, and they approved our program. About 3 years ago, the school did develop a Master of Business Administration. But I told the accrediting body at that time, OCU is 10 miles away, OU is 30 miles away, Central State's 18 miles away, Oklahoma State University is 65 miles away. They all have MBAs. And we're going to target a unique area in Oklahoma City for people who want a master's other than the MBA. And it does not require the 27 hours of business subjects the MBA requires of their entering students. I guess that's it.
Well, the others didn't want it.
OU and OSU didn't want it.
And so you decided that you would implement it.
We would take that niche, and basically it was first designed for teachers of business subject in the high school area, or people who were in managerial positions in the industry that didn't have a business education background. That was the market we wanted to target. And it evolved to where we have a lot of people who are in mid-management to come out and take the Master of Science who didn't have all the prerequisites that OU would require or OSU would require on a business degree. So it worked out real fine.
Were there any other degree programs that you worked on?
Well, we did develop a 4-year degree in accounting, a 4-year degree in aviation, a 4-year degree in marketing, and then the 4-year degree in management. And Dr. Mills recently started the 4-year degree in finance. At first, we just had the general business administration degree and business education degree. Then we branched off and got into the 4 other disciplines.
How has SNU impacted your life?
Well, I was drawn to the students. I like the students because we have, at that time, chapel 3 and 4 times a day. I grew spiritually in chapel. We had a lot of times with devotions with our students. In a spiritual way, it impacted me. And then, when I went to OU and went to one of my first classes in my doctoral program, the professor bragged for 30 minutes on how good he was. I mean, he just told the class, I'm the best professor on Oklahoma University campus, and told us why. When I came back and saw Dr. Rothwell walk across the campus, a professor of philosophy, I said, he can't hold a candle to Dr. Rothwell. Dr. Rothwell is so humble, and I said, I just like it. I like the people that are humble rather than a braggadocio. And it has really, really influenced me, I guess, in that way. People are caring and they're giving. Many of the professors through the years have had opportunities to leave and double their salary at state institutions, but somehow they have this need to serve, the need to give, the need to be of service, and so I guess that really influenced me.
Were there other colleagues that you have admired and would remember?
Well, I liked Phillips University at Enid. I had some good instructors there. We lived in Enid. I drove out there and got my master's degree in the evening program, and I liked Dr. Quaid at Enid. We had some good programs there. And I liked Wichita State University. I had some good professors there that I enjoyed.
While you were getting your doctorate, you taught both here at SNU and at UCO?
No, I didn't teach at UCO until after I got my doctorate. I taught full-time here, and then I suppose about 5 professors at UCO were in my class at OU. And then when I finished, they said, why don't you come up and teach 1 night a week for us? So I went and taught as an adjunct 1 night a week at UCO, Central State University then.
I've spoken with several of your students and discovered that you've really made lasting relationships with them. They remember you for the special efforts that you made to help them. And I'd like to know why this was important to you.
Well, I always felt like that if I owned a shoe store and someone came in at 5 till 6, I'd stay there and sell them a pair of shoes. So I figure if a student wants to meet me at 7 in the morning or at 6 at night, I'm to serve the student. I'm there to help that student around their schedule, so I went out of my way to help the student at their time. When they could get off work, I would meet with them. And I made a special effort, even on the noon hour or in the evening, to try to help them because I knew how difficult it was to work full-time or part-time, pay high tuition, and come to our school. So I felt like I need to serve them. I need to help them. So I don't have students, and we don't have a school. That's what it amounted to.
So you always had that service philosophy in mind when you were helping your students?
I always tried to look at the transcript of the student and put them in courses I thought they would be successful in the first semester or the first year they were here and get off to a real good start.
Can you give me an example of the creative way that you might have structured in school classes for some of your students?
Well, I wasn't supposed to do it, but I put a student in salesmanship that was a freshman. Salesmanship is a junior level course, but he was outgoing and very positive, and he says, I don't like history, I don't want English, I love art. I put him in art classes, I put him in my own salesmanship class, and I put him in some courses that I knew he would enjoy, and sure enough, he became successful. He made who's who at our college. If I'd have put him in history, if I'd have put him in English, and if he would have taken Old Testament history that day, he'd blown his mind. And I had a girl come to me one time and said, I've been in these Christian schools for 12 years. I don't want Old Testament. I don't want New Testament. I don't want the Bible. I says, okay, fine. And I gave her courses she wanted. By the time she graduated in 4 years, she did take Old Testament. She did take New Testament, but she enjoyed it when she took it. So I try to fit the student to the niche that they wanted, rather than a regimen that you've got to take this, 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 and this sequence.
Well, you were familiar with every rule and regulation of the college catalog to ensure that the students didn't take courses that they didn't need. You really paid particular attention to that.
I read the catalog because I told them, this is your Bible. The rule is, when you become a junior, you can graduate under the catalog in which you were a junior. So I would have students drop out and come back 2 or 3 years later, and the catalog would change. All new requirements. I said, you don't have to go by these requirements. I don't know. The catalog says you can graduate under the catalog in which you became a junior. So I'd go back to that. I kept all the catalogs. I'd go back to that old catalog and let that student finish those particular criteria and could graduate and didn't have to go to the new criteria that we faculty developed. And there is a program in there called AB Functional. A person may be in music for 2 or 3 years and decide they can't become a church musician, so they want to major in business. Or they may be in religion. I'm really not called to preach. I want to major in business. I said, you don't have to go back and take all the business subjects, all the music subjects. We can work out an AB functional. You do half your work in religion, half your work in business, and in 4 years you can graduate. A lot of people didn't know that. It's an AB functional. It's called Plan C in the catalog, and you have to get special permission from the dean. Well, I would write a letter for the student. Student would sign this letter, go over to the dean, and he would approve it. I tried to work with them.
Well, the students that I talked to acted like they would always remember you for the special efforts that you made to help them. And that's what I heard most, is he really helped me. So.
Well, I tried to help them. I may be talking fast, but we have instructor evaluations every semester. My greatest criticism is I talk too fast from the student standpoint. But once in a while, I may have 60 students in class, and I'll admit once in a while one student said he rubbed me the wrong way, or he appeared arrogant one day. That would hurt me more than if 59 said he's the best prof on campus. You know, I would go back and what did I do or what did I say to rub that student the wrong way, and I'd try to think of what happened in class or what attitude did I have that would cause a student to make a remark like that. And that would bother me. And so the next semester I'd try to overcome any negativism that I might throw off on a student, whereas I may have almost a perfect 5. Or almost everyone say best instructor on campus, this sort of thing. This one thing would really bother me. And so I tried to always improve by those instructor evaluations, and I always got a lot of comments that he has a lot of jokes and a lot of humor. Well, I try to keep it light for him.
Well, you made an effort to instill self-confidence in your students.
Well, I'll tell you one time, when you're late to class, if you're a professor, they can wait 5 minutes. If you are a head of the department, they can wait 10 minutes. If you're maybe the dean of the school, they have to wait 15 minutes. So I was on the phone talking to a book salesman or representative, and I was late to class. And the students were about ready to leave. So we got them back, and I said, now wait a minute. I want leadership to emerge. In this group, there ought to be some leaders. If I'm not even here, someone ought to stand up and talk about this lesson. Someone ought to stand up and say, here's what we were supposed to do today. What did you learn today? Someone take charge of this class and let leadership emerge. I tried to say many, many times, let leadership emerge in this class. See who's going to be the leader. Sure enough, there'd be a student standing up there having devotions or getting the class started if I happen to be 5 minutes late because of a salesman or a telephone call or something like that. So, and I've had students come back and say, I remember you tried to tell us. Let leadership emerge.
You were raised in Wichita, Kansas, and graduated high school in 1942. And I know that you followed your sister to SNU. But can you tell me about any other people that were influential at that time in helping you make your choice?
Well, my dad really wanted me to go to a Christian school. And so he thought, and we could have gone to Friends University or Wichita University, but he said, I really would like for you to get in the Christian environment, and our pastor wanted us to be in a Christian environment. So I guess those two people influenced me that I ought to leave Wichita 157 miles and come down here and attend school, and I haven't regretted it.
Did you meet your wife at SNU?
We both took orchestra. She played the saxophone and I played the tuba. On Monday night, it met for 1 hour and we got 1/2 hour credit. So Monday night, so I said to her one day, let's go across the street and have a cup of chocolate, hot chocolate. So we went across the street and had a cup of hot chocolate, and that's where we met. We met in the orchestra.
And she's a teacher also?
She planned to teach business in high school. That was her certificate. But the superintendent says, if you can teach first grade, I'll hire you. She says, I can teach first grade. She taught first grade 20 years. There's been one or two students she had in the first grade, I had them in college. See, they graduated first grade, and 10, 12 years later, they'd wind up here at SNU.
That must be really rewarding. Tell me about the 4 generations of Shellenbergers.
My wife's father, L.H. Dickerson, graduated here in 1916. It was called the Oklahoma Holiness College. Before it was called Bethany, and before it was called Bethany Pinal College, it was called Oklahoma Holiness College. He graduated in 1916. My wife graduated in 1947. Our son graduated in 1977, and now our grandson Scott is starting today as a freshman.
Fabulous.
4 generations. There are several other families around that have 4 generations. In fact, 1 or 2 have 5.
My goodness. And Kent is actually teaching here.
Kent teaches 1 class in the MHR program. His wife teaches, her name is Stephanie, teaches in the PE program. She's a volleyball coach. Those boys can't go wrong. The mom teaches swimming, she teaches volleyball and cross country, and their grandfather Green coached football in Bryan, Texas. And so I try to teach them to fish. Those boys can't go wrong on sports.
When you retired from SNU in 1989, you still continued to teach.
I taught 1 class on an adjunct basis, purchasing, international marketing, 8 o'clock to 9:15 on Tuesday and Thursday.
And
It's the first semester since 1947 I haven't taught, and I'm nervous. 47 to 97, that'd be 50 years. I haven't taught somewhere.
Tell us about what inspired you to start the Elmer Shellenberger Scholarship Program.
Well, when I came in about 65, I would go around to different businessmen, and I would say, if you give me $1,500, we will pay 7% off that fund, which would be $105 scholarship to a student, which would pay for more than 1 course. And so I got a few men to give $1,500. That was an endowed scholarship, and then the school earned a 10%, would pay us $105 a year on $1,500. So I decided, well, I want to start a Shellenberger scholarship, so I taught these courses, adjunct courses, free, and the school would put the $1,600 in the Shellenberger Marketing Scholarship Fund, and I wouldn't count it as a IRS deduction, charitable giving. So it was kind of a washout, you might say. I received no income, I gave nothing as far as the IRS is concerned. So after several years, or semesters rather, it came up to around $5,000, and so the endowment office wrote all the business graduates and asked if they would donate. Well, first time around they got $4,000. Then last semester they called and got $5,000. Now it's up to about $18,200. It's really grown. That will be about $1,300 a year.
That's wonderful.
$1,300 a year scholarship.
And you've really received some good feedback from Dr. Mills about that program.
I was told they made a survey of all the students here, what professor impacted you the most, and my name came up quite frequently, and that's why they decided to write these people letters. If he influenced you that much, they ought to give me some. There's a lot of good professors on this campus. They were business students. I'm sure that many others were impacted students.
Are there any other memories that you've had or things that you want to do associated with this school?
Well, I'm still going to work and try to get more money for the scholarship. I don't know what direction I might go to do it, but I will. And I may come back and teach another class, or I told Dr. Mills this semester, if someone is sick or they have to go out of town, I'll come in and monitor a test or proctor a course for them a day or two if they're ever out like that. And so I'll be glad to do some things of this nature. I went out and raised money for the religion building. I helped raise money for this building, so I'd be glad to help the school in any way like that.
That's great. Well, Dr. Shellenberger, we're going to offer this tape for use in the Historical Archive, and also when they do their 100-year celebration, they may choose to use part of this tape at that time. So I'd like to thank you for your time this afternoon, and wish you luck, and send some real good wishes from some of your former
Well,
students.
thank you so much. I appreciate the time and your effort. I don't know how it'll turn out, but we'll see.